flick expert. This presentation combines my two loves. I love to read literature and I love to watch teen movies. There's a feeling of safety in a tale where a girl always does the right thing. She ends up being gorgeous and she gets the guy. So let's start with some history. And yes, there is history. In the 60s, they had the formulaic beach parties with Gidget and Dreamy Moondoggie. And in the 70s, they had Grease. Oddly enough, in the 50s. Next is the 80s, the golden era. There were more teen movies made in the 80s than any other period. From Breakfast Club to Real Genius is when they really started to see a demand for these movies. When you're talking about these movies, you have to talk about John Hughes, the master of teen movies. Whether he wrote the movie, produced, or directed, his witty and smart movies are still historic. Can anyone say Bueller? Thank you. It was about that time that they realized that they were running out of content. They needed to really meet the demand. So it was in the 90s that they started really ripping off literature. Shorten the storyline, get the hot new hunk, and make sure that you get the best plan to play prom. Breathe. Okay. To quote Ebert, who loves to criticize teen movies, the high school romance genre has become so popular, they're running out of new ideas they've taken to recycling classic literature. It must be hard to watch movies for a living. So from serious authors to hip, smart, and hilarious, who would have thought that Pygmalion, which inspired My Fair Lady, would actually inspire She's All That? Freddie Prinze Jr. plays Henry Higgins, taking the frumpy girl, making her prom queen. Now, without a doubt, Jane Austen's stories have been historic. In Clueless, we get to watch Emma and see Alicia Silverstone moon over Mr. Knightley. And then the Mormons jumped in the game and produced a Pride and Prejudice at Brigham Young. Now, sometimes adaptations just don't work for teens. Cruel Intentions was an attempt to modernize Dangerous Liaisons, and you just cannot capture, I left the woman I love, and my life is now over because of my foolish pride with, I fucked up. Shakespeare can be enjoyed in many ways. In 10 Things I Hate About You, Taming of the Shrew, there were two sisters with an overly protective, sex-fearing father. And then in Romeo and Juliet, Leo DiCaprio used his pretty face to get girls interested in the story. Now, to launch an unknown singer's career, they actually used this movie about a book based on trying to find the perfect prom date called Drive Me Crazy. No one remembers the book or the movie, but they all remember Britney. It's kind of crazy. That takes us to the 2000s, the assembly line of teen movies. In the new millennium, teen movies seem to grow at such a rapid pace as your favorite stars continue to churn out films for your enjoyment. And oddly enough, many go straight to DVD. Now, they just couldn't leave Shakespeare alone, but this time it didn't work. Turning Othello into a sports star didn't really jive well with teens. And in Get Over It, the students had a crazy teacher turn Midsummer's Night's Dream into the worst musical ever. But they did get it right with Twelfth Night. Not only with the story, but with the casting. Drew Barrymore in Never Been Kissed was pretty funny, but Amanda Bynes as a boy in She's the Man was freaking hilarious. She even makes a pretty hot dude. Now, every girl loves a good fairy tale. These two movies, the adaptation was pretty obvious, and they used the natural hierarchy of high school to create the oddly gorgeous underdog who finally gets noticed by the hunky popular guy. Now, a less obvious one, it involves Amanda Bynes again as Sydney White with 12 dorks instead of 12 dwarfs, and a computer virus which crashes her Apple. A Mac with a virus? Now, we all know that's a fantasy. When you saw the movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer or Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, did you leave the theater thinking, I really want to read that book? Well, neither did I, but you can because it came first. And actually, the movie Mean Girls, there you go, which is actually based on a book called Queen Bees and Wannabes, which is really a manual for parents to help them guide their daughters through gossip and cliques and all of that. It took Tina Fey to see the comedy and the worth to make this movie. Now, although the movie Dick is not based on one book, it is based on history. It's a hilarious movie made more for adults than teens about what would happen if Deep Throat was really two silly, stupid teenage girls and one of them gets a crush on Tricky Dick. I'd like to end this with a quote from someone I don't know. Whether to escape the reality or their parents, to fantasize about power or romance, to reinforce a book they've read, or to learn about the consequences of choices on their journey of growth and self-discovery, movies aimed at this trend will never die. Thank you for your time.